For our style and characteristics for this unit, um, we are going to be talking a lot about what unites the global contemporary unit and what is makes it different from the previous art we've studied in the past. One of the things that is unique about this unit is how inclusive it is. The art world has greatly expanded and has embraced artists of all ethnicities, nationalities, genders, and sexual orientations. And that really challenged the traditional privileged place that white heterosexual men had in art history. So that is one of the things we're going to see is a wide variety of artists in the global contemporary unit. We also have they are also going to challenge traditional concepts of what art should be. Some of those traditional concepts include the hierarchy of materials, meaning what materials is considered like high art versus low art, the tools that they use, what the function of the art is. Artistic training gets questioned as well. I mean, do artists even need to have formal training, whereas that was considered almost a requirement in the Renaissance and post-Renaissance era? Also with style, all the artists have different types of style. And then presentation, how it's presented to the art community and to the public are going to be challenged. There's going to be new media that exists. We're going to see the video and digital photography emerge in the 1980s and beyond. But this also questions how art is defined again, just like it had been in the past, and how is it valued. It presents, like, it also presents and provokes the idea is digital works, is video captured performances, are graffiti artists, is that real art? Also having online museums and galleries for people to see, does that decline the value of art since people don't necessarily have to go to the galleries to see them? We also see a decline in natural materials and traditional skills and a predominance of disposable materials. One of the things that also gets to be problematic is the digital divide, which means the who has access or lack of access to digital technology. One of the art concepts we're going to see for this unit also is going to be is appropriation and mashups. Appropriation basically means taking art from one culture and appropriating it or using it to fit your own. And so artists will frequently use appropriation. And that is, it takes from world history. And we'll see that with the Untitled piece by Cindy Sherman, who is going to be appropriating the concept of Judith and Holofernes, which we talked about all the way back at day one. And many of our other pieces also include appropriation. Then there's mashups, and mashups is where they include different types and styles. And the idea is to question, is it to devalue or revalue culturally sacred objects? There's also an erosion of high culture and popular culture. They often appropriate images from both high and popular sources. They reposition them, and by doing that, it recontextualizes them and it changes their meaning. This form also is used to negate or support expectations of artworks based on regional, cultural, and chronological associations. There's also some similarities during this time period. One thing that we do know is that the art that we're going to see is diverse. We're going to see everything from, oil on canvas to digital media. but all forms of art are considered according to their perceived similarities in form, content, and artistic intent over broad themes. So the themes that we're going to see emerge as an existential investigation, meaning it's concerned with our existence, particularly human existence, and it can also affirm or imply existence of a thing. The art of this time also is very much a socio-political critique, as well as a reflection of the natural world. There's also includes the a comment on art's history, and then also popular and traditional culture, and then there's also a reflection on technological innovation that we see. Meanings are often open-ended. Sometimes artists don't even tell you what it's supposed to mean, and in the past, meaning is very easy to interpret, but this one is often subject to multiple interpretation. Artists examine the process by which meaning is generated and the negotiation or dialogue that transpires, and that's what they want. They want people to talk about their art and see what the viewer sees versus what the the art community sees, and they want people to question what the art piece means. And then we have a difference or a proliferation of display options. Museums are clearly going to be the most important place where we see art that is happening today, but galleries and gallery openings or showings is going to be really important. One example of that is there's going to be a quote-unquote Times Square show around 1980 where artists like Jean-Michel Basquiat and others from this time period take an abandoned building, and then they basically can't, their art isn't considered high enough art to show in the fancy New York galleries, so they take an abandoned building and create their own gallery, almost like the Salon des Refugiés that happened during the Impressionist period. And so also there are biennials and triennials. These are where artists will produce works for the celebrations of a 200 or a 300-year anniversary. There are exhibitions. Print publications become popular, as well as digital publications. But there are numerous diverse venues for presentation of art, which gives the artist more freedom. In regards to architecture, one of the biggest changes for this has to do with the computer. The computer will aid design. It creates diversity of innovative architectural forms that can only be done through computer help. Forms tend to be more aspirational and visionary. There's a rejection of traditional form. Iconic buildings become sought after trademarks for cities, and that becomes really important where these buildings are going to be built specifically so that people will visit those cities to see those architectural buildings. And so that is going to be definitely interesting. There's also, we talked about deconstructivist in our last screencast, but we really see it in architecture. There's an attempt to disrupt the conventional categories of architecture and to rupture the viewer's expectations based on that. That destabilization plays a major role in deconstructivist architecture. We don't see order, we don't see the columns, we don't see like stuff that had been traditional things that we had seen in architecture before, but it relies on disorder, dissonance, imbalance, asymmetry, irregularity, and unconformity. And that's totally replacing what had been previous, which is harmony, order, balance, symmetry, regularity, and clarity. The purpose of this is to challenge the viewer's assumption on how architectural forms relate to its function, with its volume, with its mass, places, borders, how they use lighting, where it's located, the directions inside the buildings, all of that is going to be questioned and used. And then according to deconstructivist principles, this very absence of the stability of traditional categories of architecture in a structure announces it as a deconstructed building. The biggest example of a deconstructed building is the Guggenheim in Bilbao by Frank Gehry. And we also have a Frank Gehry in Los Angeles. It is the LA Philharmonic building, which is right by the LA Modern Art Museum and the Broad. And it's basically the Walt Disney Center. And so it's very similar. The Bilbao Museum has that same play on the use of steel and deconstructivist architecture. Okay, that's it for style and characteristics, and then our next one will be on the horn players.